Santiago Vizcaino, and today I'll be presenting an evidence-based stress management technique that utilizes the creation of mandalas. We often think of meditation as sitting in silence, but for many, especially those in high-stress environments, silence just makes the internal noise louder. So during this presentation, I will explain how mandalas are used for mindfulness and mental well-being. I will evaluate the clinical evidence supporting mandala art as an effective intervention for anxiety and high stress environments, and then demonstrate the step by step construction of a mandala. To understand this tool, we first look at its origin. The word mandala comes from the Sanskrit word literally translating to circle. While we often associate mandalas with Eastern religions like Hinduism and Buddhism, the concept is universal. It represents the whole world or circle of healing. In philosophy, this circle represents the center of the self, an anchor point that remains stable even when the world around is changing. Historically, these circular frameworks were used to focus attention during meditation. But in the modern psychological context, we look to Carl Jung. Jung saw the mandala as an archetype of wholeness. He believed that the circular symmetrical framework allows the psyche to integrate scattered parts of the self. Essentially, circle acts as a visual structure that contains your thoughts, preventing them from spiraling out of control. The power of the mandala lies in the structure. Unlike a free-form drawing, which can cause blank page anxiety, a mandala always starts with a central point. From this center, symbols and shapes radiate outward in symmetry. When we engage with this structure, we aren't just drawing, we are entering a meditation of focused attention. We draw where a pen takes us. The flow state that mandalas induce can be very calming and effective for stress control. From a clinical perspective, why do we choose this intervention? First, it is incredibly feasible. It is deemed safe, cheap, and accessible alternative therapeutic strategy. Crucially, it requires no skills or training. You don't need to be an artist. This makes it readily implementable strategy for anxiety reduction that offers a non-pharmaceutical option for patients who might be wary of medication or complex therapies. So for my first piece of evidence, I'll be looking towards this randomized controlled trial conducted by Kademi and colleagues, published in the International Journal of Mental Health Nursing in 2021. The researchers looked at patients hospitalized with COVID-19. We know that hospitalization triggers high anxiety due to the unknown, fear, isolation, and quarantine. If a stress management technique can work in an isolated ward during a global pandemic, it creates a compelling argument that it can work for us in our daily lives. So in this trial, 70 hospitalized patients were randomly divided into two groups. The control group received standard routine care, while the intervention group spent just 30 minutes a day for 6 consecutive days coloring mandalas. This 30-minute window is important because it shows you don't need hours of therapy. A short daily practice was sufficient. So what happened? Well, the results were statistically significant. As you can see here, the anxiety scores for the mandala coloring group dropped significantly from an average of 58 down to 44. Meanwhile, the control group, who only received routine care, actually saw their anxiety scores increase or stay relatively high. This proves that the mandala acted as a buffer against the stress of the environment. Let's take a broader picture. A 2024 systematic review by Zhang and colleagues analyzed 11 different studies, which totaled 405 patients. They found that mandala art generally reduces negative symptoms like patient reported anxiety, depression, stress, and fear, eases physical discomfort, may relieve chronic or acute pain, and lower physiological stress markers like cortisol, Fun fact, they actually used the cortisol in your saliva to figure out how much cortisol you had for some of the studies. Really cool. And it could boost positive feelings. Some studies showed that mandala art could increase feelings of hope and emotional awareness. However, the review notes that we still need more high quality studies. So the verdict is that it's promising but uncertain. The problem is that a lot of the studies had high heterogeneity, meaning that a lot of different studies with a lot of different experimental designs, and it suggests that there's just more research to be done to make sure that the positive results that we're seeing is actually what we're actually seeing. Now I'll refer to 3 resources you can use to start making mandalas yourself. Just search up Monday Mandalas on Google and click the first link. This website offers a free PDFs that you can print out so you can color in your mandalas. It offers information and all the links so you can color in your mandalas. You could also use the Colorify app. You download it on your phone's app store and it will give you templates for just about any drawing, but we'll scroll down to the mandala section. And this is great because it's accessible. Everybody has a phone for the most part. And the review stated that freehand drawing and coloring mandalas were both effective in getting the positive results that we want to see. If you really want to learn more about Carl Jung, mandala symbolism is a good resource for you to read. And if you really want a good dive in deep, Man and His Symbols is a very hard to read but satisfying read also. Now I'll be presenting some of the mandalas I've made before in the past. This one was when I was in class, kind of bored if I'm being honest, and I just used this to help me focus on the lecture but also keep my mind stimulated. It kind of doesn't have to be circular but follows a symmetrical pattern. I really like how this one came out. This one, I kind of used the grid paper as my structure, and you kind of just have to make your own rules, and just by following it, it helps you kind of like not think so hard on what to draw. You kind of just go with the flow and see what happens, and I think that's one of the most satisfying parts of mandalas is just seeing what can happen just by going with the flow. Now I'll shift gears and show you a real live mandala. This is me working on a mandala that I already started. Right now I'm adding petals to the bigger petals that I made earlier, and you can see that you kind of just do what feels right. Like I mentioned earlier, there's no set rules, so whatever you want to do, just go for it and just try to keep it consistent throughout the whole structure, and you'd be surprised what you come up with. And don't feel pressure that you have to keep a certain style. How you've been doing it the whole time. Like for example, I was kind of highlighting the different outlines, but then I thought, why not fill in the different petals? And I have each darkened petal touch. Like you kind of have to just set your own kind of rules with it. This one, the rule that I set for myself is that let's shade in a petal, but not let the shaded in petal touch the other petals. And then I started to work more throughout the whole flower, making sure every little bit is marked. And you'll realize once you get a mandala going, you'll get into a flow state. And flow states are really awesome because it really gets you in the zone and it's really not thinking about anything but the activity in itself. And here I'm just adding more to the outside of the flower. And what I really like about these like pens, I could just go over and kind of just make whatever works. So in conclusion, we have seen that the mandala is more than just art. It is a psychological tool. By engaging with this geometric structure, we create a safe space for our attention, moving our nervous system from a state of fight or flight into a state of flow. This helps our default mode network calm down and really center ourselves. The evidence from the clinical trials we reviewed confirms that this works even in the most difficult circumstances, like during the global pandemic. I will leave you this quote from Carl Jung: "The mandala is the center. It is the exponent of all paths. It is the path to the center, to individuation." Thank you so much for watching my video. Here's the references to the two studies I cited during this video. Thank you so much.